if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You're not trying new things, right? My son is really into drumming. The teacher's been trying to teach him some things. He has no idea how to do it. And he's, instead of, like, at first he just wasn't trying it. I'm like, no. I want to see you fail because then I know you're trying.
Let's give everybody information on how to fail. What do you think?
I love it. Sounds super helpful.
Right? I think it's going to be great. You guys tune in, listen up. We're going to talk to you about how to fail at your health and fitness goals. I'm kind of pumped, I'll be honest, because this is not something we want to talk about all the time. So this is like a super rare episode, in my opinion, right?
Yes, this is an exclusive how to fail. But of course, on the flip side of how to fail is how to succeed.
Yeah, it's true. We wouldn't leave you guys out to dry. But we are going to start with talking about what would you want to do if you wanted to fail at your health and fitness goals. Adam, I'm going to give you the first shot.
All right.
Go ahead.
First thing I would do if I wanted people to fail is to have zero adaptability.
Okay, explain.
So ultimately, I think consistency is about sticking with it no matter what. And the no matter what is where the magic happens. And in order to stick with it with the no matter what, you have to be adaptable, right? So let's say you have a week where you're super busy. The adaptability part of you would say, all right, well, instead of turning off the effort dial, I'm going to turn it down. Instead of doing my full workout this week, I'm going to do it for 20 minutes. Instead of not being able to, eat perfectly, so I'm just going to not care at all, I'm going to make the best choices possible. So you're focusing on being adaptable. You're changing your approach when necessary in order to stick with it.
Okay. So if we wanted to fail, be rigid, right? Be rigid, maybe insist that what you've always done is still going to work, which I don't know about you, but I think, guys, we see it every single day. I can't tell you how many times a week I see somebody come to our program and they say, what I used to do, what always worked, isn't working anymore. Guess what? The number one thing they did to fail at health and fitness was they stayed rigid. They assumed that nothing changed, so they didn't need to change. So, okay, stay rigid. Number one. I like it. Let's hang rigid. Let's stay brittle. All right, number two. I'm going for it. Number two, avoid. Be avoidant. Right? Let's not look at it. Let's not think about it. Let's not pay attention to it. Let's definitely not be vulnerable. And let's not ask for help. What do you think, Adam?
I love that. You know me. I love my acronyms. One of my favorites is FDR, right? Fear, discomfort,
there it is.
Doubt, and resistance. And our most successful clients, when they feel that, they reach out for help. They talk through those feelings. One of the benefits of having a coach is they can help you work through anything and everything you're feeling. On the flip side of that is you feel those feelings, you recoil, you hide, and you kind of go into your own corner and you go further into that, hole you're going down. You can get help out of it, right? And instead of recoiling and hiding, as comfortable as that is for you, as we often say, discomfort is our compass, do the opposite. Ask for help. Be vulnerable. Your coach can help you. They want to help you.
It's funny that we're talking about this. I had a call yesterday with a client. I adore her. She's wonderful. And man, she shows up every day and works so hard, Adam, every single day. And I have talked to her over the months that we've been together. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, when you're having a hard day, please reach out to me. And she did it this week. And then we set up a call when she was having her absolute worst day, the day she wanted to avoid, recoil, and hide. And at the end of the call, she said to me, you know what? This helped. It helped me to actually talk it through and process it in this moment. And I feel better. And I know that was hard for her. There's two parts to each of us, right? There's that part of us that does want help, that does want out of it. But man, when we're in that place, there's that part of us that just says, don't let anybody know you're struggling. You can do this yourself. Fiercely independent, stubbornly independent. Don't be vulnerable. Hide, recoil, avoid. So that's point number 2. If you want to fail, hide out. Just hide out and do it all by yourself.
Yeah. To me, it's like either you could be sorry or you can be saved. And, it's nice to be saved, and asking for help, we can help you through it. And either, because we know, it's like, I know this one person for years, she's like, I can do this. I can do this. Like just last month, she signed up for years, literally for over 10 years. She's been telling herself she can do it on her own, stubbornly independent. And then she signed up. She's like, I wish I didn't wait so long. 10 years she's been telling, like, ask for help. The most successful people I know focus on what they're good at and they get help with what they're not. And that's it. They don't waste time.
Yeah. And I want to say this too. I feel like there's part of us that thinks if we're asking for help, then it's because somebody knows better than us. I mean, that may be true, right? Like you're going to hire an expert in whatever it is you want to get better at. But the truth is that's still you helping yourself. Like that's still you. That's our job as coaches, is to help you find the answers that are within, right? It's not because we're the experts. It's because we're the safe place for you to come and process this stuff and figure it out and help yourself. So, I mean, fine, be fiercely independent, but have somebody as a sounding board and an extra set of eyes, like it's okay. It's still you helping yourself. It's just a different version, right? You got to let somebody in and you got to be vulnerable. It's hard. It's hard. All right. What would number 3 be? What else might we want to do if we wanted to fail at health and fitness?
Always seeking comfort. Comfort is your compass.
Oh, to fail. Find comfort. My bed, my blanket.
Yes. So a little while ago, we were going for a family hike, and I was in the car. We were about to leave, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a jacket. And like 20-year-old me, 10-year-old me, 15-year-old me, maybe even 25-year-old and 30-year-old me would have been like, all right, no big deal. I was freaking out. I didn't have a jacket. I was going to be cold, chilly. My inner warrior was like, are you serious right now? Like you're like all worried about being chilly, cold? I realized as I'm getting older, my TFD, here's another acronym for you, my tolerance for discomfort is slowly decreasing, right? And one of the things I've been really thinking about a lot lately is as we age, we seek more comfort, but I think the more comfort we seek, the faster we age. It's really important to seek discomfort. And obviously the real compass is discomfort. So whenever there's an opportunity,
No, you go ahead. Whenever there's an opportunity.
Whenever there's an opportunity for me to face discomfort, of course, in a safe way, this isn't doing anything where you can actually get physically hurt, but whether it's with exercise or something I push myself mentally, whatever it might be, I always try to take it.
So another way to look at this, I think, when we were making our notes and preparing for this discussion, one of the things I wrote down was let impulse drive my behaviors, right? And so I think last week we talked about always being motivated. We're always motivated, right? As human beings. And generally we're motivated to seek comfort, right? Like that's like the human wiring. So whenever you have an impulse, it's because you're seeking comfort. You're seeking safety, security, certainty, survival, and that's found in comfort. So I think that's kind of like the subtitle to, letting comfort be your compass is let impulse drive every decision you make, and you'll definitely fail at health and fitness. You have the impulse to eat whatever, whenever. Yep. Gonna fail at health and fitness. You have the impulse to skip your workout. Yep. Gonna fail at health and fitness. You have the impulse to neglect and ignore all the choices you make throughout the day. Gonna fail at health and fitness. So that's kind of my addendum to let comfort be your compass.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me, one of my favorite episodes, I love Seinfeld, was when George Costanza realized everything he's ever done in his life got him to where he was, and he was not happy where he was. So the whole idea was he's going to do everything the opposite of what he normally does. Seinfeld, Jerry was like, well, if everything you've ever done was wrong, then by law, everything you think you should do or the opposite is gonna, is correct. And I try to think about that, because if our nature is to choose comfort, then I always try to choose discomfort. I always try to take the opposite approach. And the wonderful thing is, of course, when you choose the more uncomfortable path, we always feel powerful. We always feel unstoppable afterward, right? We don't feel powerful and confident and energized after we do something that's easy, right? It's after we push ourselves. So there is a reward for choosing the discomfort. And of course, what's easy now is once hard. What's uncomfortable now will soon be comfortable if you stick with it, if you practice it enough.
Right. So I kind of want to go back to the beginning, to your first piece of advice, which was don't be adaptable, be rigid. One of the things, and this, I promise this all circles together, what you're really talking about is developing the skills that is required to be forever adaptable, right? To know how to evolve, which, I think as humans, our poor assumption is that nothing changes, that we never change, that things never change, that we never need to change what we're doing. And I just think it's so important that we identify these skills as skills for adaptation, right? To tailor what we're doing to make sure as our lives change, we are changing along with it, right? It's that whole thing. Well, what I've always done isn't working anymore. And one of the things that we do when we start working with a client is we get in there and we say, okay, well, what changed that brought you to this point? All right. And once we figure that out, we have to go back in with that client and start teaching them these skills for adaptability. And we want these to be skills for life. You have to constantly be willing to adapt as you age, right? That's why this whole, you've got to seek out discomfort. It's not just for a short period of time. You have to know how to do that for the rest of your life if you're going to maintain a positive state of health, right, Adam?
No doubt. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting thing to share, is that as health coaches, right, we're not in there just helping people change what they're eating, learn to exercise, and lose weight. We're teaching people skills for life, adaptation for life. It's how you create sustainable and positive health and fitness. So that's the antithesis of failing. Be adaptable.
For sure.
Learn to evolve constantly, forever.
For sure. The other thing I would recommend if you're seeking failure is always striving for perfection, right? If it's either be perfect or don't try at all. That will certainly lead you to failure if that is your goal. Of course, striving for perfection is what chronic dieters do, right? They're always striving for perfection. And of course, what happens is inevitably something comes up. They can't be quote unquote perfect anymore, and they give up, right? They let off the pedal. They let off the effort dial. Far more effective, far more sustainable to strive for progress, to strive for better than before. Again, striving for perfection is what chronic dieters do, because the second they cannot be perfect in their minds, they just don't try at all.
Right. Yep. It's that very all or nothing, that rigidity we spoke of earlier, right? And it gets in the way every single time. And it is the exact opposite of being adaptable, actually.
Yes.
There's another one, being impatient, right? Like I always envision like a toddler throwing their toy, because they wanted what they wanted when they wanted it, and they want it now. And if they don't get it, they're going to throw their toys.
Yep.
And I say that a lot, actually. I always give my clients permission, throw your toys, but we're going to keep going anyway. It's like the football carry. Have you all had that experience when your toddler or your child, I've carried very large children in football holds out of restaurants or stores because they're not getting what they want. Don't make us come and football carry you out of a restaurant. But unless you want to fail, and then we're happy to come and carry you out like a football out of a restaurant.
Yes.
But impatience. What is impatience? What is patience? we should say. It's how you behave while you wait. That's it. And I think all of that we've talked about today are different ways to behave while you wait. We can either behave in ways that are going to lead us to failure or behave in ways that will lead to ultimate success, right? But patience is how you behave while you wait. What are we waiting on? Well, we're waiting on the actions we're taking or not taking to lead to the outcomes we're seeking. That's it.
Right. And, it's like if someone says, there's no doubt eating slower helps us in all areas when it comes to nutrition and eating. How do you eat slower? Well, a good way is put your utensils down between bites, take sips of water between bites. How do you be more patient? I think the key to that is being more self-compassionate, being more compassionate with yourself, right? Because when you're compassionate, when you have self-compassion, you're allowing for that patience. Because the problem is there's a part of us that thinks we should figure this out right away. The results should happen right away. We mess up what's going on. That really impacts, I think, our patience muscle. And no doubt self-compassion is a key to patience. And I think one of the easiest ways to practice self-compassion is practice compassion towards other people, right? When someone is late, what is going on in your mind, right? Give them grace, give them the benefit of the doubt, because we're usually much harder on ourselves than we are to other people. So if you practice it outward, then it maybe is a little easier inward. And on the flip side, if you quote unquote mess up, if you eat what you didn't want to, if you didn't follow through, allow yourself some compassion, right? And I think one of the keys to compassion, we can keep going down the tree, is, focusing on facts versus fiction, right? The fact is, let's say you ate a cookie. The fact is you skipped a workout. The fact is you ordered what you said you wouldn't order, whatever. Those are the facts. Let's focus on the facts. The fiction is everything else. The stories we tell ourselves, the narratives we tell ourselves. Oh, here I go again. I'm so late. All this stuff. Try to forget that. Focus on the facts. And when you focus on facts, it's a lot easier to move forward and allow yourself to be patient and get back on the consistency train.
Absolutely. And I love that you always bring up, like, if you want to practice treating yourself a certain way, practice treating others that way. I think that is so crucial. So, so crucial, right? Because then you start to see it in yourself. You start to see yourself and how you're relating to others. And it does. It just becomes a muscle that you improve over time. All right. Were there any other points of that we wanted to make in order to fail? I mean, I think that we can't forget that's really what this is about. How else could we fail if there is anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that's coming to mind is and this is kind of, I'll just say it is only focusing on the food you're eating, right? So you're only focusing on the food you're eating. That's it. If you want to fail, only focus on the food you're eating, right? Of course, what I mean by that is you got to focus on why you're eating, right? Focus on the MPH, as we like to say, your mindset, psychology, your habits, your relationship with food. What's going on behind the scenes? Every behavior has a motivation. Food is serving us in some way. That's truly what we want you to focus on, of course, right? For success. But if you're only focusing on what you're eating, that is certainly going to lead to failure.
Got it. Okay. What's on the plate? That's it. Anything else? I mean, I guess we could say the same for exercise, right? Only focus on the exercise you're doing or not doing. That's it. Right? It's just, I think ultimately, like, if you're only focused on a peephole size amount of the entire 360 degrees, you're guaranteed to fail. Right? Assuming it's just one thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And can I give you two more?
Yeah. Shoot. Yeah.
All right.
Come on. Let's load it up.
Next thing is focus on this journey day by day or week by week. That's how you fail. It's a day by day or week by week journey. That's how you fail. What I mean by that is what I really want you to focus on is choice by choice. Because for some people, when they focus on day by day, again, this goes back to the whole, being rigid, being perfect. If they have a mess up, in quotes, because I don't really believe it, like whatever, you know what I mean though, but if they have a mess up, they kind of throw in the towel and they say, I'll start fresh tomorrow. Or for some people, when they take a week by week, if they have some sort of slip up, they say, screw it, I'll start fresh next week. Instead, take it choice by choice instead of day by day or week by week. Because When you have lots of choices, let's say you eat, 5 times a day, 5 times 7 is 35, 35 times 4 is 140. 140 choices a month in terms of food. If you have a few bad choices in quotes again, because I don't, you know what I mean though? There's a few in quotes bad choices, you're not going to mess up all the other choices. So I think for some people, focusing on choice by choice is far more effective than day by day or week by week. And then
Yeah, don't paint it all one color.
exactly. And then last but not least, for our clients, it's like, I love seeing what you eat, right? But I really love seeing what you didn't want to eat that you ate, right? In other words, share your failures with us. Again, in quotes, but share that with us. One of the things I often challenge clients is, you're wonderful at sharing all your beautiful, nutritious, good-looking meals. I want to see all the other stuff. That's where the magic happens. And again, I think to take it full circle, that's where a willingness to be a little vulnerable, a willingness to ask for help, a willingness to not recoil and hide, but do the opposite. That's where we can help you. And that's where the magic happens. And, there is no such thing as failure. As I remind my son over and over and over again, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You're not trying new things, right? My son is really into drumming. The teacher's been trying to teach him some things. He has no idea how to do it. And he's, instead of, like, at first he just wasn't trying. I'm like, no. I want to see you fail because then I know you're trying. So if you reframe failure to mean that you're just trying, and if you try enough and you practice enough, then it becomes a routine. And if you do the routine long enough, it becomes a habit. I think if you think of it that way, it becomes a lot easier.
Awesome. All right, guys. So moral of the story is get out there and fail, right? Get out there and fail. Try things. Take what we've shared today, flip the script like George Costanza, do the opposite of everything you've been doing, and then email us and let us know the ways in which you're trying and finding success. And of course, we always love to hear from you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.